A single mother saved a millionaire buried alive in the woods. But what he whispered made them both cry. Aisha was a single mother of 2 kids. She lived with her 2 children in an old rundown house that had been passed down to her from her parents. Life wasn't easy for Aisha, but she was a strong woman, and she was determined to give her kids the best life possible. One day, while walking in the woods behind their home, her son discovered something strange. He found an old metal box half buried in the mud. Curious, he pulled it out and opened it. Inside, they found an old phone and a small amount of cash. They also found a note written on a torn piece of paper that read, "Call this number if you find this box." The number was written on the back of a business card, which had the name William Hamilton and the title CEO of Hamilton Industries written on it. Aisha knew who Mr. Hamilton was. He was the CEO of a large corporation that had recently moved to their small town. She wasn't sure why he would have buried a box in the woods, but she decided to call him anyway. When Mr. Hamilton answered the phone, he sounded groggy and confused. "Hello?" he said. "Who is this?" "I found a box buried in the woods behind my house," Aisha explained. "It had your name on it, so I was hoping you could come and collect it." There was a long pause. "Thank you," Mr. Hamilton finally said. "That would be wonderful. I'm sorry to ask this of you, but could you please tell me where exactly you found it? I need to go there myself." Aisha told him where to find the box and hung up the phone. She didn't think much of it until later that evening when she heard sirens and saw flashing lights in the distance. As they got closer, she realized they were headed straight for her house. When they arrived, she went outside to see what was going on. "Mrs. Williams," one of the officers asked, "did you call us about a missing person?" Confused, Aisha replied, "No. Why would I call you about a missing person?" "We received a call from someone saying they had found a box in the woods that belonged to Mr. William Hamilton," the officer explained. "He was missing, and we were looking for him. But it looks like you didn't call us about him after all." With that, they got into their car and drove away. Aisha felt a chill down her spine. She hadn't called the police about Mr. Hamilton being missing, so who had? And where was he now? The next morning, Aisha was awoken by the sound of pounding on her door. When she opened it, she was met with the sight of 2 police officers standing on her doorstep. "Mrs. Williams," one of the officers said, "we'd like to ask you some questions about Mr. William Hamilton." Aisha invited them in, and they sat down at the kitchen table. "As you know, Mr. Hamilton is missing, and we believe you may have some information that could help us find him," the officer said. Aisha shook her head. "I'm afraid I don't understand. All I did was find a box in the woods and return his property to him." "Is that a crime?" The officer shook his head. "No, of course not. But the box you found also contained evidence that Mr. Hamilton had been the victim of foul play. We believe he was kidnapped, and we think whoever did it may have taken him out into the woods and buried him alive." Aisha gasped. "Oh my God," she whispered. "I didn't realize that's what happened. Of course I'll help you find him." The officers thanked her and left. Aisha immediately called her neighbor to watch the kids and raced into the woods behind her house. She began digging frantically in the spot where she had found the box, but she couldn't find anything. Just when she was about to give up, she saw something. It was a glint of metal in the distance. She walked over and knelt down. It was a ring. She picked it up and brushed off the dirt. It was a simple silver band with a small diamond in the center. She recognized it instantly. It was the same ring Mr. Hamilton had been wearing when she returned his phone and money. She called the police and told them what she found. They arrived and began searching the area. Soon they hit pay dirt. They found a buried box, but instead of calling Mr. Hamilton, they called an ambulance. When they opened the box, they found a man, weak but alive. They quickly got to work digging him out. Aisha stood by, watching anxiously as they worked. She couldn't believe that he had been buried alive, and she was worried about his condition. Finally, they pulled him out. He was pale and his clothes were dirty, but he was alive. The paramedics rushed over and began tending to him. As they loaded him onto the stretcher, Aisha got a good look at his face. It was badly swollen, but she could make out the handsome features beneath the dirt. He looked at her and smiled weakly. "Thank you," he whispered. "You saved my life." Aisha blushed. "Oh, it was nothing," she lied. She had risked her life to save him. He was taken away in the ambulance and Aisha went home, shaken but relieved that he was okay. The next day, Aisha was at the hospital waiting to hear an update on Mr. Hamilton's condition. She hadn't meant to go, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She had seen the look on his face when they had found him, and it had scared her. She paced the hospital floor anxiously, when suddenly the doors opened and Mr. Hamilton walked in. He was still pale, but he was smiling. "I wanted to thank you in person for saving my life," he said. "I couldn't imagine what I would have done if you had unfound me when you did." Aisha blushed. "It was no trouble," she lied again. Mr. Hamilton looked at her for a moment, then suddenly his face fell. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I have to tell you something." Aisha frowned. "What is it?" Mr. Hamilton took a deep breath. "I lied to you," he whispered. "I'm not William Hamilton, the CEO of Hamilton Industries. My name is Jacob Hayes, and I'm the CEO of Hayes Enterprises." "What?" Aisha gasped. "Why did you lie to me?" "Because I was ashamed," Jacob whispered. "Ashamed? I was in a lot of debt and I was desperate for money. So I came up with a plan. I would fake my own kidnapping and then collect on the ransom. I buried a box with my phone and some cash and planned to call someone in the area and ask them to return it to me. You found the box and called me, and I played along. I'm so sorry I lied to you, but I was desperate." Aisha couldn't believe what she was hearing. The man she had risked her life to save was a fraud. "But why did you really get kidnapped?" she asked. "I'm sorry," Jacob whispered. "There's no excuse for what I did, but I was desperate. I owed a lot of money, and I didn't know what else to do." "I understand," Aisha said softly. "I know how desperate you must have felt, but that doesn't make it okay. What you did was wrong." Jacob nodded slowly. "I know," he whispered, "and I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry." "I believe you," Aisha said, "but you need to turn yourself in." Jacob shook his head. "No, I can't do that. If I admit I faked the kidnapping, my company will go bankrupt and innocent people will lose their jobs. I have to protect my company. I'm sorry, Aisha, but I can't turn myself in." Aisha was stunned. She couldn't believe that someone could be so selfish. "You're a millionaire," she said. "You could easily pay back what you owe without hurting anyone. Why did you put yourself in this position?" Jacob sighed. "It all started when my father died. He left me the company, but it wasn't doing well. I tried everything I could to save it, but it was going downhill fast. Then I met with a group of investors who offered to buy me out. They promised to take care of my employees and keep the company afloat, but it wasn't enough money. I refused. I just couldn't let go. And then everything changed. A major client pulled out last minute and we lost millions. I was desperate. I didn't know what to do. That's when I came up with the plan. I faked my own kidnapping and collected the ransom. I was going to use the money to pay back my investors, but it didn't work out the way I planned. I'm sorry, Aisha. I'm so sorry." Aisha was silent for a moment. She didn't know what to say. She had never met someone like Jacob before. He was rich, powerful, and shameless. "How much do you owe?" she asked. Jacob looked at her in surprise. "What? How much do you owe?" she repeated. "I'll pay it back for you. I promise." Jacob shook his head. "No, you don't understand. If you pay back my debts, my company will go under and everyone will lose their jobs. That's not an option." "Then what are we going to do?" Aisha asked. Jacob took a deep breath. "I know this is crazy, but I need you to marry me," Aisha gasped. "What? If you marry me, I can borrow against my company and pay off my debts. Then I can dissolve the company and no one will ever know what I did." "You serious?" Aisha asked. "Is that what you want?" "Yes," Jacob whispered. "I know it's a lot to ask, but I promise I'll make it worth your while. I can give you anything you want. Money, power, prestige." "I'm not interested in your money," Aisha said quietly. "I'm sorry, Jacob, but I can't marry you." Jacob's face fell. "Why not?" "Because I don't love you," Aisha said softly. "And I don't want to be with someone who isn't honest with me." Jacob looked at her for a moment, then slowly stood up. "Thank you, Aisha," he whispered, "for everything." And with that, he turned and walked away. Aisha watched him go, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. She had done the right thing. She had saved a life, but she had also stood up for herself and her values. In the coming weeks, the police were able to solve the case of the missing CEO. They arrested the people responsible for the kidnapping and brought them to justice. and Jacob Hayes was left to deal with the consequences of his actions. His company was dissolved, and he lost everything, but he was free, and that's all that mattered. As for Aisha, she went back to her normal life, raised her kids, and tried to forget about the ordeal. But she never forgot the valuable lesson she had learned. Don't trust a millionaire.